Station 311 Charles River, 415 with successful queue, exit INT. I'm K9 deployment. We're west southwest of Valley, approaching 2 Charles.
Hello and welcome to the Oxnard Police Podcast. This is the second episode that since we have relaunched, and we're here today to talk to the Homeless Liaison Unit. My name is Paul Carganilla. I'm the Community Affairs Manager for the Police Department, and do us a quick favor. You hear it if you listen to podcasts. People ask you to like, subscribe, leave a review, leave a comment. You hear it often because it really makes a difference, and we ask that if you enjoy hearing conversations like this, you think other people might find it valuable, please just take a moment to write a quick review. Make sure you're subscribed on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. Now, let's jump right into it. I'm excited to share what you guys do with the community because it is something that I think is lesser known. And if you ask members of the community what they think the big issues are here in Oxnard, homelessness always comes up. And when I tell people we have a whole unit just dedicated full time to the homelessness here in Oxnard, it's kind of a surprise. I'd like to introduce everyone to our homeless liaison, Corporal Timothy Roberts, and one of our homeless liaison officers, Angelica Duran. And thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, pleasure. Let's start with just getting to know you and your career and what led you to becoming members of this unit. We'll start with you, Corporal Roberts. When did you join the department? Was it your first police department?
Yes, it's my first police department, the only police department I've ever worked for. I started here in 2015, right after college. I've been working here since then. I did about 8 years in patrol. And then in 2023, I promoted and came to the HLO unit, which was something I didn't really put in for or apply for. I just kind of got told, hey, this is where you're going. It's been a great experience. It's really been eye-opening. I didn't know what to expect when I came into it. And I couldn't have asked for a better spot to be in at this point in my career.
And we'll talk more about kind of the rewarding aspects of it. But before we jump into what it is that you do, Angelica, what brought you to the police department? When did you start? Tell us your career journey.
My career journey, I came from LA County, so I'm more of a transplant to the city. I've always wanted to be in law enforcement, so Oxnard is my first agency and the only agency I've worked for. I hired in 2014. Like Corporal Roberts, I was in patrol for about 6 years. I joined the Investigations Bureau with the Family Protection Unit. So I did about 2 years with that assignment, and I ended up coming back to patrol, became a field training officer for a couple of years, and currently, but I, unlike Corporal, sought out this assignment just because what I've noticed was, like the community probably recognizes, the homelessness population just grew and it became more of an issue. So I recognized that some of the calls for service kind of correlated with the assignment, and for me, I was like, I want to dive into a little different perspective for the assignment. Okay.
Well, it is a very unique assignment, and can you tell us about how it started, when it started, how has it evolved since then?
Well, the unit started in 2018 officially. There were a couple of officers before that worked directly with the homeless primarily, but the unit itself started in 2018. It started out with 2 officers and a corporal and a sergeant that supervised it. Since then, it's grown. We are a unit now that has 5 officers and a corporal and a sergeant overseeing it, and it's our full-time job is dealing with the homeless. So the unit is named, or we're named, the Homeless Liaison Officers because we act as a liaison between the community, the police department, and the homeless individuals and getting them connected with services and things that are available to them.
So it's not just looking at the calls for service that are pending and responding to the ones that have to do with the unhoused population. You actually work full time. Can you paint a picture of what that looks like, what your weeks are like?
I think a lot of the different perspective of call for service, we can articulate for us that a call for service, someone calling the non-emergency line, making a call regarding someone disturbing, sleeping, having a tent, in front of their business. We also offer in the city an Oxnard 311 application where someone can actually submit a complaint if it's an ongoing large encampment, and that is what gets sent over to the homeless liaison unit, and we oversee that. And so part of our work Monday through Thursday, we coincide, we get in touch with some of the business owners, private properties. Part of it as being a liaison is educating some of the public community members on how to address some of these issues if it's in city property, private property, and organizing how we can schedule cleanups to address those issues and making those contacts. Some of the things that we do, like our start of the week on Mondays, might be address everything that comes over through the weekend.
Comes to the 311 app.
311 app, any email notifications from patrol officers, any ongoing locations that seem to be a nuisance to the city. And sometimes our patrol officers are inundated with a lot of calls. They don't have the resources, the time, the manpower to address some of these encampments. That some of that information gets relayed to us. And then we work as a team to organize and kind of formulate a plan on how to address the issue, depending on the size.
Yeah, so just to follow up with that, with a patrol officer, their job, usually when they're working at night, working during the day, it's very go, go, go. Hey, get this done, go to the next one, go to the next call, go to the next call. And they don't really have the time to dig in and work with the people, work with the property owners, work with the individuals in the encampments and figure out a solution. So that's where we come in. We work with the people in the encampments, the owners of the property, other entities like housing, things like that, and try to find a solution for long-term problems as opposed to just showing up, hey, you got to leave, go somewhere else, and then on to the next call. So we really work in the area where we want to solve the problem as opposed to just pushing it down the road and having it be a problem for later.
And some of the things, one of the key points is that stands out compared to everything else in patrol is we drive pickup trucks, and it'll have our name on the back, Homeless Liaison. The purpose of having the pickup truck is some of these encampments and tents have I can't even call it, a number of personal property that these individuals have. They accumulate over time. And so when we have to take some kind of enforcement action, patrol officers can't fit all that in a patrol vehicle. So sometimes they might have to forward that information of that particular location to us. And we have the resources of the pickup truck to kind of help remove it, alleviate some of that stress, or just not having the proper equipment, I guess, if you will, for a patrol officer to address it. And so they might forward that to us. We also have, what's the Polaris?
It's like an ATV.
The ATV, yeah.
Yeah.
So some of these locations of these encampments might be remote, where a normal patrol officer driving a Ford Explorer just can't seem to, make their way through. And so we have to organize a plan to locate these remote encampments, see what's the best way to address, if we have to contact private ownership to see if we can address and schedule a cleanup on their means, and making contacts with these people just to see what else can we offer to alleviate that location.
I think it's super interesting how it's like, what is the answer? What is it that you guys do when you go out? Because homelessness, as we know, is not a crime. Not having a home it's not something you can be arrested for, and we're going to come take all your stuff and take you to jail. So you kind of touched on not kicking it down the road. What would you say? How would you describe the services unfold as you get there to these calls for service?
A lot of times we'll go to these encampments and we'll kind of assess, we'll talk with the person, we'll gauge their interest in receiving housing, receiving services. There's no cookie cutter answer for every single person when it comes to homelessness. There's a million different reasons why people are homeless, and there's a million different reasons why they're continuing to be homeless. Some of it is that they haven't been offered the services and the opportunities haven't been made available. Some of them are choosing this way of life because it is there's no responsibility to anything in this lifestyle.
It's a choice.
100% a choice for some people, based on addiction or just the way they want to live their life. So it's really assessing what the needs are, what the reason for the homelessness is, and going from there. If they're interested in services, we can get them in touch with the people that can help them. We have our One Stop that is probably our biggest resource. One Stop's a once a week one-stop shop pretty much for homeless services within the city of Oxnard. We get service providers from all over the county. We got healthcare agency, Salvation Army,
behavioral health,
rescue mission, behavioral health. They're all in one location. Showers, hot meals. They're on. They all meet up at Salvation Army every Wednesday morning from 8 to 11 and offer services for these people. One of the biggest things is Mercy House, which is the homeless shelter here in Oxnard, which has about 100 beds in it. So people can get on the list there to get put into that Mercy House housing if they're interested.
What is the new building that's being built kind of across the street here? Is that something that you guys are going to be involved in once it's finished?
We aren't necessarily involved in that building. That's run by the Mercy House organization. It is a building that the city housing department is coordinated with. As far as police department, we're not involved with that. Just for everyone to be aware, like the police aren't the ones that give the services. We're just connecting people to the service providers. But that building is going to be what's called Casa de Carmen. So it'll have about 100 emergency shelter beds, which could be occupied at any time by somebody who's been on the list for the Mercy House. And there's going to be about 50 permanent supportive housing units, so apartments for unhoused individuals to be living in who have been matched through different programs.
Wow. Now, these services that you connect them to, I think, are they mostly nonprofit, or some of them are they provided by the county? And in what ways do you guys collaborate with any services that are provided by the county?
Well, a lot of them, I'll be honest, a lot of the funding and all that's probably out of my understanding. But in regards to us, in our connection with them, is we facilitate that meeting. A lot of the times we'll encounter people. We've mentioned we get to know these people, where they come from. My interaction sometimes is with the Spanish-speaking community, so some of them aren't aware. They don't have the idea that there is actual help out there for them. So just the education portion, providing the flyers and navigating them to the One Stop. And if they just feel, lost in translation, a lot of the times we can have really good connections with the social workers where we can actually literally stand by, make a phone call, and we have a really good contact with them, and they can actually come and meet if they're available right then and there with us. And we can do that introduction that they feel a little bit more comfortable, more willing to participate. This one idea about the one-stop shop, when we encounter a lot of contacts, they just feel it's a one-stop, meaning they only have to attend that one time.
Right. It's in the name.
But the idea behind it is you have to be persistent. You have to demonstrate that you're seeking the change. We can only do so much. We can't force any of these individuals to change for themselves. They have to want it. And so sometimes we have to kind of do that little influence of, hey, this is me reaching out the hand, giving you the information, giving you the guidance. And, we have to just give you a little bit of that nudge to get that first step going through that first door and making that, step towards a change. Now, will it happen? Half the time, sometimes no. Sometimes we have to encounter these people again, and now it might change into some form of an enforcement action, and that interaction can lead to a positive, where even though I have to do an enforcement action, having that conversation in the jail facility might be like, hey, man, this is probably not the best solution for you. Maybe next time when we say go to the One Stop, be persistent, show your face, make an interaction, get a name of someone that you're going to meet every single Wednesday. And that way they know you by name the next time you show up, and they'll be like, oh, Jane Doe is the next one in line, and hey, I saw Jane at One Stop. and we will, it can make a difference, I would say.
How many of your contacts would you say are people you've met before, or what percentage?
I've been doing this for almost 2 years now, so I know nearly every single person that I drive up to on a first name basis.
Wow.
I still meet new people every day, but it is a very you get to know people very well in this position, especially over an extended period of time.
So in that with in that situation, it kind of would lead someone to assume that a lot of these people that you're offering services to just simply are resistant.
Some are resistant, kind of like I mentioned earlier. There's a million different reasons for it. Plenty of them are receptive to it. However, sometimes they just have trouble getting to one stop, making time on a Wednesday because they're out just doing other things. So it's our job to encourage them to get there, making sure they're getting connected and reminding them to get to that one stop. If we got to give them a flyer, 5 or 6 times before they finally remember that it's time to go, or if we got to go tell them day of, hey, get yourself over there. We've given people rides before that need help getting there, that are mobility limited, or we'll even give people rides over to the shelter once that they're scheduled to get in, so we can eliminate that barrier for them to get into housing.
You mentioned standing by and waiting for the social workers to come and make a contact with individuals, but I've seen you guys huddled up in the parking lot getting ready to go out with all these different services or representatives from different services together. What is that called when you guys all go out together?
We call it backpack medicine. It's usually done every Tuesday out of the week, and that's a unique experience working from patrol, and I would see that as well. It's like a little powwow that happens. Mm-hmm. Essentially, it's a lot of different heads of services, Mercy House. We have doctors, nurses, representatives from behavioral health, social workers for housing, and we work out as a group. Essentially, they want to now, instead of having them come to One Stop on a Wednesday, now they'll reach out and ask if there are any location in particular, any encampments in the city that are just causing some form of a concern in the community that we probably would recommend to go and reach out to. So in this case, it's more of an outreach. We go to a specific location, bring the social workers to that particular location, make the face-to-face contact, and a lot of the times people might see it as a police involvement. It's totally the opposite. It's the social workers being the ones to drive the outreach, and we just stand by for safety reasons, making sure nothing happens, and we just facilitate that. And it's a pretty unique experience because there's people that might have mobility issues that can't get to a hospital, don't want to get an ambulance just due to not having insurance or funding, and we actually have a doctor on site with a backpack with a pack mule that just brings out all the medical equipment and do it right then and there, some kind of procedure. It's pretty cool to see at times, but like everything, they usually have their recommendations. Doctors will say you need to follow up on your own doctor, but it's the opportunity for them to get the attention, meet the contacts, probably set themselves up for housing, and even resources for people that have some kind of mental diagnoses, prescriptions. I guess the list can go on. They do a lot, actually.
I was happy to hear they actually had backpacks on, since it was in the name.
Backpack medicine,
medicine. Yes. You mentioned your specialty vehicles, and I know like with the Polaris, you have to go out on the beach a bunch. What are the environments that you find the most challenging, or what kind of locations do you find you get called to?
We can get into locations where people that drive on a day-to-day will never see us. Places like the water canal, the watershed, underground.
Underground.
Well, I guess a prime example would be one near Del Sol High School. There's a bridge. It's a watershed that leads underground. that's a community down there that we are addressing. We've gone out to the beach, areas surrounding the beach where a normal SUV will not have access to. So our ATV vehicles will allow us to, venture out first, find the location, then we can navigate a plan on how we can bring in resources. An example of that would be on one occasion we reached out to an outside agency because we found some tractors abandoned in the middle of the beach. Ended up being a stolen tractor from a nearby agency. So some of the encampments that lead us into finding stolen vehicles, stolen tractors, stolen motorcycles, different kind of aspects. I call them like a cluster. Sometimes it leads into an encampment and we can find, substances, stolen vehicles, stolen property, etc. The list can go on. Train tracks, that seems to be the biggest issue right now. A lot of the homelessness love to tag along the railroads, and that could be a different avenue for us that we have to tackle. We had a scheduled cleanup earlier today. Well, we had to address that. So sometimes navigating through train tracks with active train railroad tracks, sometimes we have to coordinate with outside agencies. Hey, we're going to be, driving through tracks. We don't want to get injured or get anyone involved in some kind of a safety issue. But yeah.
Speaking of safety issues, I get a lot of community concern about the riverbed, like fires, or even when there's a lot of rain in the forecast. Do you guys, is the riverbed you guys, or is that Ventura PD?
Riverbed is outside city limits. That's the Ventura County Sheriffs that handle the enforcement in that area of the county.
But there is a lot of environment that is similar to that, like along the beach. When you go out toward Victoria, there's like wooded areas that you wouldn't expect people to be living, but you guys you make your way out there?
Yes. Yeah, our trucks that we have are 4-wheel drive, so we actually get special training. We go to special classes, learn how to do 4-wheel drive safely in these different environments, so we don't have any accidents or damage any of the vehicles. But we get that special training so we can go out into these remote locations and offer the services and do the enforcement we need to do out there.
I won't lie, though. A lot of the times we can finally get to a stop where we can't go on any kind of vehicle. We have to go on foot. So we can tag along the steps on our any steps for the day. So that's usually fun.
A lot of walking and exploring.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So we've talked about the liaison aspect of your job and connecting people with services, but we do hear from the community, why aren't you doing anything more? Why aren't you doing more? And we talked about when you try to connect to the services, but it leads to enforcement. Do you end up, is that common? Do you guys end up doing a lot of enforcement?
We do a lot of enforcement in this unit. As far as arrests, we had over 1,000 arrests that we conducted last year alone.
1,000?
1,000 between misdemeanor citations and physical arrests. 1,000 with our 5 or 6 person team. And those are for different things. City ordinance violations like the storage of property in public, the camping ordinance, and a lot of those are misdemeanor warrants, felony warrants as well. So those are county or state level crimes that people are committing and failing to appear for court, or they're getting those cases filed after they've been arraigned or they miss a court appearance. So we'll enforce a lot of those warrants whenever we come across those. If there's an opportunity for someone to get services and we can give them a court date or a citation, we'll do that, try to work with them. But if enforcement's needed, we'll definitely take that route. Another thing that's very common too is drug possession, drug use. We did have some laws passed recently, back in November of last year that took effect at the beginning of this year, where possession of drugs, so like methamphetamine, fentanyl, heroin, possession of those drugs with 2 prior convictions could result in either it becomes a felony, meaning that someone could either go to prison if they refuse the option of taking rehabilitation for that. So we've seen a little bit of success with that in terms of people doing a little bit of time in county jail, sobering up, getting clean, and then coming out and being willing to accept services after that.
You mentioned an ordinance, and it just made me think of it, or just reminded me of a question that I wanted to ask, and that was, I think it was maybe 5 years ago, the city adopted some ordinances about camping in parks and public places. Is that something that you guys enforce regularly?
Yes. So there are several ordinances. There's the panhandling within a certain area of the intersections that is illegal. We do enforce that. There's the storage of personal property in public, which is illegal citywide. And then there's a camping ordinance, which is illegal in certain areas. So this law was enacted in 2019. There was a court case that was in effect during that time, which is no longer in effect. So our city ordinance was built to stay within the guidelines of that court case. So it only restricted camping in certain areas. So that's the downtown central business district and then several parks throughout the city. So Wilson Park, Community Center Park, East and West. And then there's been a couple of spots that have been added to that area, that camping ordinance as well. So the area K Street and the area of South Oxnard Boulevard near the train tracks.
I remember learning about that because I didn't go to the police academy. I'm not an officer, and obviously being homeless is not a crime, as we always remind people. But this is a way for the city to kind of, take back the parks and take back those areas.
Correct. One of the ways or what even reads in the ordinance is so these areas can be enjoyable for everyone, meaning people, kids, families, make this playground accessible. That way it's not just a haven for people who are homeless that want to keep their entire belongings, most of which is unsanitary and dangerous for other people.
I've got some questions here from actually community members on Facebook I'd love to throw at you. One has to do with something in the name as well. Gloria asked, what type of resources does the Homeless Liaison unit offer the community, and how can we volunteer? And there you are, liaising again, right?
Yeah, we're liaisons with for the different resources. Our biggest proponent in this job is City Housing Department. Our biggest contacts are over there, and they work with all of our other service providers. They're kind of our hub of services over there. So we'll call our contact from City Housing Department and say, hey, where's this person at with their housing? What's their situation going? Like, what do they need to do next? They don't know, but they want to get in somewhere. What can we do? So like, okay, they need to go get their TB test, or okay, they need to go over here, get their voucher from the doctor, or they need to see this person and talk to them and get this signed. So the housing department is probably the biggest asset we have in this job as far as being liaisons to the homeless individuals. As far as helping out, if you want to donate to your local organization, Rescue Mission, Salvation Army, those are both great assets to us. I'd really ask, we do have an ordinance against panhandling in the city. So if you see people panhandling, please don't encourage that kind of behavior by giving out money or food to them. There's a lot of places where they receive food. There's a free meal that's given out.
Food drive, actually.
Yeah, every single day of the week, there's locations giving out free meals to people. So unfortunately, most of the time when that money's given out to people on the streets, it's used for other things. So try not to encourage that kind of behavior. One, because it's illegal on their part, and then two, it's just it kind of feeds into the reason for the people being homeless.
To keep coming back to that particular location.
To continue that behavior.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Maricela asks, is it true that some surrounding cities provide their unhoused residents with one-way transportation to Oxnard?
I wouldn't say that I've ever heard of that happening. Someone giving someone a one-way ticket. However, we have seen an increase lately in individuals coming from Los Angeles County to Oxnard that don't have any connection here. There was 1 week.
We encountered
within the last month.
We had 10 new faces, and they were all from LA County. It doesn't just resort to LA County. From outside the county lines, we've interacted. So part of the interaction that we do with a lot of these people on a daily basis, we get to know them. Where are they coming from? Hey, I've never seen you before. Like the last question of, do we encounter the same faces often? We do, and that's why we get on a first name basis. And when we meet someone for the first time, it kind of grabs our attention, like, hey, how are you? Where are you from? And what brought you to Oxnard? And that's where we kind of learned that they ended up coming on a bus ride or train ride and ended up in the city of Oxnard through the OTC.
Right. What brings you here? Do you have family here?
Yeah.
Was it a one-way ticket from another city? Jackie asks, how do you balance compassion for the homeless with compassion for citizens who walk past them as they're doing explicit things in parks or public spaces on a daily basis?
Yeah, so that's really one of my biggest motivations for this job is the community as a whole that is being affected by this, by the homeless issue. So this job is great because, one, you get to help people, but also you're helping the community. And homelessness isn't just an issue for an individual person. Sometimes in a patrol setting, as just regular patrol officers, you're going to deal with a brother and a brother arguing, or a neighbor and a neighbor having an issue. And a lot of times you may solve that problem or you may not, and it may still be an issue, but it's only one or two people's issue. When I think about this person that's on the side of the street or they're next to a school, I think about like 500 kids that are walking by this and going like, hey, what's going on with that guy? And thinking like, I probably am, uncomfortable, or like, what's going on? And then these moms and these kids are walking by. So I really think that we look at it from the community angle, and that's why we're. I know we've talked a lot about being liaisons and giving resources, but there's also the time where we're
the enforcement needs to come in.
and we're police officers every day, so there is a lot of enforcement that goes on as well with our unit. So we make sure that we're proactive with enforcing those ordinances when they're applicable, as well as other ordinances like drug use, public intoxication, subjects who are blocking the sidewalk. We're very proactive with those enforcement measures because that's a quality of life issue for the community that we're really concerned about.
Before I move on to just my final last thoughts or questions, I wanted to reiterate to anybody listening the use of the 311 app. I remember when I was working in dispatch and somebody called in for graffiti or somebody called in for dumped mattresses, I would literally, from our dispatch center, go on the 311 app and enter it in there because that's the best way to report those kinds of issues. So can you just revisit one more time before we wrap it up? Tell me about this tool, the 311 app. How important is it?
So the Oxnard 311 app, it's available through Apple and Android. It's an app where community members can submit requests.
It's free.
Absolutely free to make an account. You can be anonymous if you'd like. But it allows people to submit requests for various different issues to the correct department within the city. So you can report issues with sidewalks, issues with potholes, graffiti. One of the tools on there is homeless encampments, and those reports will come directly to our unit, and we will address each one of those as they come in.
I would add it's very user-friendly. There is an opportunity for someone to take a photo of that particular location. If it's something or someone in particular, feel free to use it. And the biggest thing that I would recommend is make an account. It makes it easier when you submit requests.
Yeah, pictures are great. We love getting the pictures. That way we know exactly what we're looking for.
And what we're addressing for sure.
The caveat with that is not for crimes in progress. It is not for situations where you need a police officer right away.
Yes.
If you submit that on a Friday evening, we will not see that request until Monday morning. So you still need to dial 911 if there's an emergency, or a non-emergency line if there's a subject that needs police attention right away, so we can send an officer out. Again, this is like an encampment, an issue that we can deal with, kind of like we explained earlier, with where we can get our resources together and solve the problem. But it's not going to generate an immediate police response, so please be aware of that when you're using the app.
All right, wrapping up. I wanted to ask if you guys had any thoughts on how working in this particular unit, obviously when you sign up to be a police officer, maybe you didn't picture yourself doing this, but now having done it for some time, what has working in this unit taught you on not just on a professional level and maybe a personal level?
For me, on a professional level, being a patrol officer and receiving a call for service for someone in the community about this particular encampment, whatever it might be, that's causing a disturbance for them. As a patrol officer, it was kind of like you want that issue addressed overnight. Professionally, and being in this unit, you start having a bigger, wide picture of we're going to make an enforcement stop on this individual. We're going to offer resources. If they don't refuse us resources, there's the steps of how to cause enforcement and maybe conduct a cleanup. And if, depending on the situation where it might not be in city public roadway. Now it's in a private property. Now we have to contact. So sometimes there's a due process that needs to take place, and it allowed me to have that different perspective to understand, like the public, sometimes you might see it, you might make that phone call, and you might not see the resolution on that day, but there's some steps that have to come into play legally for us to address the issue. And it allowed me to have that perspective and patience, and meeting these people on how to resolve the issue long term kind of helps me resolve issues or interactions with people, having a bit more of patience to kind of understand and take a step back and reassess. Maybe by looking at a different lens, it might help me find a different perspective on how to address maybe a problem.
Yeah, I didn't ever picture myself being a, I guess, homeless cop, for lack of a better term. But this is something that I really enjoy. It's really rewarding. I do take a lot of pride in the fact that, that we're fighting an uphill battle, and I think we're doing a good job. But I take a lot of pride in the fact that if we go out and we make a good arrest or get somebody housed in an area who's receptive to services, especially in a park or on a street corner that's been an issue for a long time, and we can drive by that and we can say, like, look, that area is fixed. We clean that up, and then it's kind of on to the next thing. But there's a lot of pride in the community when we do things like that, and a lot of pride in our unit when we can solve problems like that.
All right, before we say goodbye, here's your opportunity to, if there's anything we haven't talked about or touched on that you want the community to know about your unit or what you do or the issues you face day to day, or any last messages you have for anybody out there listening to the Oxnard Police Podcast. Any last thoughts?
I would just say be patient with us. We do work citywide, so the issues that come in, we do kind of have to address and tackle one at a time. So bear with us. Your issue's not forgotten. It's just we're taking the time to kind of really assess and resolve an issue long term.
That brings up a quick question. Do you, when you see all these 311 reports, do you operate on like a priority level? Is it like a call for service where there's priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, or is it just kind of like you assess what needs to be addressed and what the next step should be? I
think it depending on the 311, that's why recommendation of the photos, they may help assist us in, hey, we can probably tackle that today. If it's a bigger encampment, we might need to work on some of the days where we might have all of our team together at the time.
Gotcha.
So keep in mind, some of us work collateral assignments, so sometimes we have to get pulled away from the unit on a particular day. But we work as a team whenever we have a big issue location, and we'll assess it and make a plan.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Anything from you, Corporal?
No, but I just want to talk about we do a lot of work with outside entities in the county. Just like today, we had a cleanup with combined cleanup with County Watershed and Amtrak police. So they came out with cleanup crews. So if you see a large number of people out and about on Fifth Street, there was just a giant encampment cleanup that stretched from Oxnard Boulevard all the way out to Rice. So.
And that brings up a point too, is that sometimes when we do have to conduct a cleanup, it just funnels a lot of the personnel that was living at a particular location back into the city, and now we clean one spot and it might just trickled out to a different location. So now we have a new project to do.
And you mentioned seeing you guys out on the streets doing your work. I think it's really worth mentioning before we say goodbye. You guys, just to address real quick, the difference in your uniform, you've got the black and white kind of simple design on not the big colorful Oxnard police patches. So if you see them out working in the community, yes, these are Oxnard police officers. And
yes.
We'll
have the patch in the center.
When you see these black and white designs on their uniforms, they are with the Homeless Liaison Unit. And say hello.
Don't be afraid.
We're just wearing these because they're a lot easier to wash, and we sometimes this job is dirty. So,
well, speaking of dirty jobs, thanks for being a guest on the podcast today, Corporal Roberts and Officer Duran, and for letting us know about the Oxnard Police Department Homeless Liaison Unit.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Paul.